ดีนะครับ จิตอย่าวอกแวก
จะมาไม่อยากพูดภาษาไทยนะเพราะว่าโบเก่ง
คนโชว์ภาษาเราสาลา
ไม่ได้ทำไม
ไม่ได้จุดไฟไม่ได้
อ๋อ
ไม่พอดีไป
ไปแล้ว
ทำไมล่ะ
I think it's okay.
It's okay.
ตั้งใจนะคะ ตั้งใจนะคะ อาจารย์จะพูด
วันนี้เป็นวันพิเศษนะ Today is a very special, very important day. So I hope you can just bear with me a little bit and listen for a little while because we don't have this opportunity very often. Today is one Ok Pansa. So Ok Pansa means that this is the day we come out of Pansa. So for 3 months we've been in Pansa. So that means for 3 months we've been confined. We can't travel. We can only just go out during the day. We have to be back, and we have to greet the dawn every day during in the boundary of this wat. So at the end of Pansa, then we come out of Pansa. So today we come out, and the day that we come out of Pansa is the day when we have to Prapiksu Thong. We have to meet, and we have to Pavarana. So we call it one Pavarana Day. And this is a very unusual thing that I think I want you to take some notice of. Because many people, especially here in the West, they don't understand our life. They don't understand why we do what we do and what Prasong means. And today really is a special day for Prasong. It's a special day we sometimes call Sangha Day, because it's a day for Prasong. And it's a day when we meet together. We did this morning, Tammanapa and I. We're only 2 of us, only 2 Prapiksu here. So we meet together. And we don't have Patimuk on this full moon. We meet together and we make invitation. Pavarana means to make an invitation. And we make an invitation to Prasong if we have many monks, or to each other if it's only 1 or 2 like today. We make an invitation to admonish. So we open ourselves to being criticized, to being admonished for anything that we might do by body, speech or mind which is inappropriate or improper or in some way wrong. And it's important this because our purpose in being here, in being in Prasong, is to train ourselves. And we are training ourselves, we are trying to make ourselves better. And we're trying eventually to come out of our suffering. And this of course is the whole super objective of Buddhist practice, to come out of suffering. And when we join Prasong, we make a commitment to try a bit harder and to make it our life to try to come out of our suffering. And I notice that here in the West particularly, people don't, and I'm not talking about traditional Buddhist people like yourselves, but Western Buddhist people, they don't value Prasong. They don't really understand what Prasong is and why we're here and why we do what we do. They think somehow, I think, there was some kind of hierarchy which they resent. They don't understand that Prasong has a very special place in Buddhist tradition. Very important place. Because without Prasong, it's highly unlikely that we would still have the Buddha's teachings available to us now, all this long time after the passing of the Buddha. I'm convinced that it's highly unlikely we would still have the teaching and practice of Buddhism available. One of the great contributions that the Sangha makes is to care for the teaching and practice of Buddhism. Immediately after the Buddha's passing, what did the Sangha do? Immediately afterwards called a big council, a great council. 500 Pra'ara came together to recite all that could be remembered of what the Buddha had taught. And that was very important because they had already seen one of the Buddha's contemporaries, Mahavira. He was the leader of the Jains, the naked ascetics, and he'd passed away. And following his passing, his followers and his teaching had all rapidly deteriorated, and they were determined that the same shouldn't happen to the teachings of the Buddha. So they came together, this big Sangha council, to rehearse and remember everything they could of what the Buddha had taught. And what they recited at that great council forms the basis of the whole Tipitaka, the Pali Canon, the Buddhist scriptures. And down the ages, monks have memorized and recited those scriptures and kept them alive, kept them available. Because for a very long time, there was no opportunity to write them down. And of course, there were no recording instruments, nothing like that then. The only way to keep those teachings was to memorize them and pass them on by word of mouth. And even today, of course, there are still many monks who remember a lot of these discourses, and a few monks, particularly in Burma, who memorize the entire Tipitaka. It's a considerable feat of memory. But they do that, and they keep the Buddha's teachings available. And those teachings don't get messed about with, don't get watered down, but they remain as the Buddha left them. And that's very important. And without this great contribution by the Sangha, I'm convinced the teachings of the Buddha would have long disappeared or become so fragmented and messed up with other ideas that they would hardly be recognized. And I'm sorry to say that we begin to see this process happening in the West, because Buddhism has come to the West. The teachings of Buddhism have come to the West. Western people have gone to the East and have listened to the Buddha's teachings, and they've studied the scriptures, and they've brought it to the West. But they didn't bring prasong. They just brought pratam. And prasong came later, came afterwards. And it's taken a very long time to establish prasong in the West, in this country particularly. When I first became interested in Buddhism, it was almost impossible to ordain as a monk in this country. And there were no Western bhikkhus in this country. Just once or twice there'd be one visit, or someone would ordain for a day or two, a week or two, or a month or two, but there was no prasong, there was no Western Sangha. And one of the teachers I went to, when I first became interested in Buddhism, I first went to a temple in London. It's gone now, but it used to be in Hampstead on Haverstock Hill. And it was called the Hampstead Buddhist Vihara. And sometimes it was known as Wat Thammapadip. And the old monk who founded that, his ambition had been to establish a native Sangha, that is, 4 English bhikkhus. And he never really quite managed it. And in those days, there were one or two Western bhikkhus in Thailand, but not here. So the Sangha, prasong, came later, came after pratam. And that's been a little bit unfortunate, because people have messed around a bit, in fact quite a lot, with the Buddha's teachings and mixed it with Western psychology and philosophy of all sorts. And they've missed the point. They've not really quite understood the real purpose of the Buddha's teachings in many cases. So this is a problem which we do our best now to redress. And it's come to me. I've been trying, particularly in recent years, to strengthen the idea of Sangha. You see, it's difficult for people to understand. They see the word